The good faith exception and ways to suppress search warrants in criminal cases. The Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution protects individuals from unreasonable searches and seizures by law enforcement. However, even illegally obtained evidence seized by a warrant may be admissible in court if the police acted in good faith. This doctrine allows for the admissibility of evidence obtained during a search that is later found to be invalid, as long as the law enforcement officers acted in good faith when conducting the search. The good faith exception recognizes that the exclusionary rule, which is the primary mechanism for enforcing the Fourth Amendment's prohibition against unreasonable searches and seizures, can have significant costs, including the loss of potentially crucial evidence and the potential for encouraging police misconduct. The legal framework for the good faith exception requires that law enforcement officers reasonably rely on a search warrant that is later found to be invalid due to a lack of probable cause, a technical deficiency, or another error. To determine whether the good faith exception applies, courts will examine several factors, including the officer's subjective belief in the warrant's validity, the officer's objective reasonableness, and the presence of any egregious or deliberate misconduct. The good faith exception has limits, and it does not apply in situations where the warrant is based on a knowingly or recklessly false affidavit by the officer. Nor does it apply when the warrant is so facially deficient that no reasonable officer could presume it to be valid. The good faith exception has significant implications for both law enforcement officers and defendants in criminal cases. For law enforcement, the good faith exception provides a measure of protection against the exclusion of evidence in situations where officers reasonably rely on a warrant, even if it is later found to be invalid. This encourages officers to act in compliance with the Fourth Amendment and to seek warrants when conducting searches, as doing so can potentially shield them from the consequences of an invalid warrant. For defendants, the good faith exception can limit the potential for suppression of evidence obtained through a search warrant, even if the warrant is later found to be invalid. This means that defendants and their attorneys must carefully assess the circumstances surrounding the search and the warrant to determine whether the good faith exception applies. If the exception does not apply, the defense can still argue for the suppression of evidence based on other grounds, such as a lack of probable cause, a defective warrant, or police misconduct.